Alright, Copa del Rey, round of 16, Messi was back with Barca, and against Rayo Vallecano, Messi had scored in 9 of the last 10 games that they have met, and had never lost against the Madrid side. So again, history, as is many times the case with Messi, is on the side of Barcelona, but you gotta play the matches. The lineup for Barcelona, I thought, honestly, it would be a best 11, but this was still the 4-3-3 with like-for-like swaps, Pedri coming out for Puig, Dembele coming out for Trincao, and Alba coming out for Junior. Mingueza in because of Dest and Roberto injuries. My only question going in was Trincao's positioning. You expected he would be on that far right side, where Messi usually hangs out in this 4-3-3, but I guess the real question was, where was Messi going to be? And as he always does answer that question, everywhere wound up being that answer. And then fortifying on that left side, we're going to get to the problems that I think that created in a bit. For Rayo, there were interesting choices by Iriola as well with their lineup. Not even close to the best team they could have picked. Advincula, Alvaro Garcia, Palazón, and Antonin/Bebe all on the bench. So certainly not their best 11 either. It didn't look like the pitch was too great, and the tempo of this match kind of suited that, both teams figuring each other out for about the first 20 minutes or so. Now there was, in the early going, a Trincao penalty shot. It's not my job to decide if it's a penalty or not, but what I do know is that it might be a bit better if Barca hadn't worn the pink jerseys against Rayo's white with the red sash. 5 jerseys now this season with the El Clasico one that Puyol showed off, and it was a shame to see the pink against the white, but again, those are complaints for me watching on a small screen. 20th minute, the first real action of this game, Jong sliding through, making his run into the box, and just hit the post, and the ball stays out. The ball bouncing to Dimitrievski, and Barca's best chance, obviously, through that first 20 minutes. 24th minute, Lenglet plays a good ball over the top to Griezmann, but he pushes the ball too far out in front of him. Mistake by Griezmann and Lenglet. I've been on him about his passing as I have since he first arrived, but this was his good ball, and maybe his only really good ball of the day. Mingueza next to him committed his first of quite a few fouls. He does commit too many fouls for my liking. I guess you can chalk it up to inexperience. You're guaranteed at least 1 or 2, and in this match, 3, which we'll again talk about later, every single game. Yet Mingueza would also commit these fouls when he was playing down in the 3rd division, so this might just be the kind of player he is. Some of the questions that I had about him in the 3rd division are continuing to pop up in the 1st division, and I think he's a good squad and quality rotation player, but the questions about his potential certainly need to be asked, and that is unfortunate because I've been very complimentary of what Mingueza has done so far for Barcelona with his first team appearances. 35th minute, a guy who hasn't really done much with his appearances, Trincao. He should have passed sooner here, but he shoots instead. It still wasn't a bad attempt on goal, but it was a 4-on-2, and Barcelona should have been finishing that. Puig instead hits the post, and Barca, I think on the shot there, they stay unlucky, but it was good to see that Barca were creating chances, even with Dembele out and Trincao in instead. And it was a second bright performance by Trincao that I was happy to see. And as I said, we're just waiting on that first goal for that weight to be lifted. Griezmann and Jong create a chance a minute later. Nothing to that either. Trincao then a second penalty shot. Much better argument to me. I think Trincao's legs were tangled up by Fran Garcia and not the other way around. And Garcia also on loan from Real Madrid, so I am always an extra bit suspicious when a player that's even on loan from Real Madrid fouls a Barca player. Now, as we wrap up that first half, people were beginning to talk about Puig and Junior Firpo, and I think this is the point where I'll address them both. Puig, he does lose the ball a bit much, and I continue to say I think it's because he doesn't have a solid run of form. It's also that obviously in 45 minutes, he's going to lose many more balls than he does in 3 to 5 minutes when he's been coming on lately. And because he's such a polarizing figure, we're all looking for bright spots or for negative things to happen. And it is on him losing the ball when he does. However, playing as that left interior here, he was not helped at all by Junior Firpo in this match. Now, Junior was struggling with Rayo's 5 at the back, as Rayo was using the wing backs to overload the flanks, and Junior was always caught between helping with the press or staying at home, and his positioning was rough to begin with, but it was made worse because he wasn't winning his duels, putting him in an even worse position, and then he was making mistakes and stepping when he didn't need to, or not stepping when he should have, and his passing also wasn't great. And in the second half, when he did come out, it was sad to see. You could tell that as he was walking off the field, and they followed the camera did up into the stands, and you could see he knew the performance he had. And it's this case where Alba says, I'm the most hated guy, and we continue to kind of pile on Alba because when he has bad performances, he just doesn't seem to accept them. But for Junior Firpo, he's in a bad way at the moment, and I think there is a difference between saying that Alba is the starter and it's hard to unlodge him and critiquing him as the player he's supposed to be as a starter. But Junior Firpo is the backup. We're just hoping he gets some minutes to rotate Alba, and he's not even earning those minutes, and the worst part is that he knows that he's not. There might only be a few more appearances for him left in a Blaugrana shirt, and it's certainly time, I think, to get him out of a Blaugrana shirt for both the player and the club as well. And Puig, I also want to mention, the first half, I think it's a little more frustrating going back to see that his stats back up that he had a good half, when in this case the eye test told me that he wasn't very good, when usually it's the inverse, where his stats aren't so great in terms of ball recoveries and losing the ball, yet his eye test and limited minutes tell us that he needs to be on the field. But he was great in that first half, at least on the stats. 1 key pass, 1 chance created, 45 touches, winning 7 of his 11 duels, 2 successful dribbles, 83% passing rating, could have been better, but he'd only misplayed 5 passes. He was 26 of 31 with his accurate passing. So for Puig, the stats say that he was good. The stats say he was good, but because Barca didn't have a lead, it did make it a little worse, and he did lose the ball in really negative spots. Friend of the pod, Adil, also with the great stats here. Last 10 away Copa matches, including the one tonight, Barca scored a total of 0 first-half goals, so I guess that's kind of what we have to expect here on the road in the Copa del Rey. Second half, Trincao starts with another penalty shout. This time he does get the call, but this time it's outside the box. Messi so close, just off the woodwork. The third time at that point that Barca have hit the bar. Alvaro Garcia comes in as a second-half sub on for Rayo, turning Lenglet inside out within minutes of being on the pitch, and Neto's deflected save goes right to the aforementioned Fran Garcia on the back post. Simple as that, 1-0 Rayo, and not to say that they didn't deserve their goal, because they deserved their goal, but Barca should have been up by 2 goals at this point. A minute later, Jong offside for what at that point would have been the equalizer. But 2 minutes after that, good ball movement, Messi to Junior to Griezmann, but Dimitrievski once again out to meet it, and Barca have to wait. 68th minute, Alba, Dembele, Pedri on for Puig, Trincao, and Junior. I already talked about Puig and Junior and Trincao a bunch, but I think it's a lot easier, too, for Koeman to get his subs right when you're bringing on 3 regular starters and taking off 3 regular bench players. So, I don't know. It's almost tongue-in-cheek, a bit of credit to Koeman for getting his subs correct, but, I mean, obviously it was correct because these were the 3 more talented players here. And with those subs, I don't know if they immediately made any difference because it was like-for-like replacements as well. And Barca didn't necessarily do anything different with them on the field, but they were adding fresher legs and extra dynamism. So the goal was scored. It's a run from De Jong, a through ball to Griezmann, and cross to Messi for the FIFA goal. Easy as you'd like. As I said at the beginning, Messi scores against Rayo Vallecano, and Messi wins against Rayo Vallecano, but Barca did have to fight for it. They get the second goal a few minutes after that, keeping up the pressure, and Jordi Alba giving some life as a sub, doing his thing with Messi. Messi's back in the lineup. That means Jordi Alba is back to being his normal marauding self. Messi dropping deep as the playmaker. All match he was doing this, so Alba comes on and making the run that Junior Firpo only made that one time in that shot that Griezmann couldn't finish, and Alba gets it in stride. De Jong now with the finish. 4 goals in 7 for Barca after scoring 3 in his previous 62. That's 5 goals on the season, the most he has scored in a first-team career, whether at Ajax or with Barcelona. 85th minute, Griezmann out for Braithwaite with Barca in the driver's seat. If Barca are winning, there's no problem the role that Griezmann is playing. Creating opportunities for others with his off-ball movement, and yeah, sure, I'd like to see him finish and score the goals, but if Barca are going to win and play as well as they are, with Griezmann just doing the hard work and doing all those little things defensively in between and creating spaces up top, that's great. But like we saw last week, he shouldn't be doing that job next to Braithwaite in that 4-3-3. Braithwaite made sense as the standard number 9, as the reference point in that 4-2-3-1. But now that Barca are playing in a 4-3-3, as we've seen, Braithwaite's form has also dipped because he doesn't really have a position there because he really cannot handle the burden of being the actual striker in a Barcelona 4-3-3. Something that Griezmann is kind of getting to, working with Messi as their understanding has worked out. And De Jong is also in form. That's been very helpful. Dembele's been healthy. That's also been helpful. So Griezmann, I think, believe it or not, even though he's not putting the ball in the back of the net this week, I think he's still in actually pretty fine form in terms of seeing what's in front of him. Late push from Rayo, though. 5 minutes remaining. Remember, Rayo put in their starters too, so the quality of that match was ratcheted up in the closing minutes. Messi with the most uncharacteristic finish, or lack thereof, that maybe we've ever seen. Pedri, another wonderful find to Messi, and Messi just dribbles himself out of the angle as Rayo bodies were flying at him. And unlike the other day, though, I felt like Barca were closer to their third than Rayo was to the equalizer, even if Rayo's chances were showing otherwise, including with that free kick in the final moments. But nevertheless, Barca survived 2-1. Moving on to the quarterfinals now, the 11th straight season doing that, being the previous record of 10 straight from 1951 to 1960. And I know it's a Copa del Rey, and there are 3 games still remaining to win, so the trophy isn't wrapped up by any means, but it's a trophy that would matter quite a bit to this club this season. It's been a disheartening week when seeing all the financial news, but this win was I think a good one. Yeah, I had half an eye on the first half and I was much more watching intently in the second, but I was actually happy with the performance. The scoreline was 2-1 and Barca was trailing at one point, but Barca were the superior team. And it wasn't just Messi. In fact, if Messi didn't have a week of rust on him, the game would have been over a lot sooner and Messi still had a goal in this match. No days off for the Blaugrana though. It's Athletic Club on Sunday for the third time in a month. That's a familiar opponent that we know all too well at this point. But until then, Forza Barca.